Rewire your mind. Have you ever felt like your own mind is working against you? Like no matter how hard you try, you fall back into the same habits, the same doubts, the same patterns that keep you stuck. Because here's the truth no one tells you clearly enough. Your life is not controlled by your goals. It's controlled by your wiring. And if your mind is wired for fear, hesitation, and distraction, then even the best plans won't save you. But what if you could change that? What if, in a short period of time, you could begin to reprogram the way you think, the way you react, the way you see yourself? This is not motivation. This is transformation. And it starts with a story. A few years ago, there was a man named Arjun. From the outside, his life looked normal. Stable job. Decent income. People around him. But inside, it was chaos. Every morning, he woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. Not because something bad happened. But because nothing was changing. He had dreams. Big ones. He wanted freedom. Confidence. Success. But every time he tried to take action, something stopped him. A voice. A quiet, persistent voice that said, "You're not ready. What if you fail? What will people think?" So he delayed. He procrastinated. He distracted himself. Days became months. Months became years. And slowly, without realizing it, he became someone he never wanted to be. Not because he lacked ability. But because his mind was wired to hold him back. One day, something shifted. Not dramatically. Not like in movies. Just a simple moment. He looked at himself in the mirror and asked one question. What if the problem isn't my life, but the way I think? That question changed everything. Because for the first time, he stopped blaming circumstances. And started examining his mind. Here's what he discovered. Your brain is not fixed. It's adaptable. Every thought you repeat. Every emotion you reinforce. Every habit you follow. Is literally shaping your brain. This is called neuroplasticity. Which means, you are not stuck. You are programmed. And anything programmed can be reprogrammed. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to change their life instantly. They want overnight success. Massive transformation. But rewiring your mind doesn't work like that. It starts small. Invisible. Almost boring. Arjun didn't suddenly become confident. He didn't wake up fearless. He started with something simple. Awareness. He began noticing his thoughts. Not reacting. Not judging. Just observing. When his mind said, "You can't do this," instead of believing it, he questioned it. Is that true? When fear showed up, instead of running away, he stayed. Sat with it. Understood it. And slowly, something incredible happened. The voice in his head started losing power. Because he stopped feeding it. Here's something you need to understand. Your mind believes what you repeat. If you constantly think, "I'm not good enough," your brain accepts it as truth. But if you interrupt that pattern, and replace it, you begin to shift your identity. That's exactly what he did. Every day, he practiced new thoughts. Not fake positivity. But intentional thinking. Instead of, "I can't," he said, "I'm learning." Instead of, "I'm afraid," he said, "I'm growing." And at first, it felt unnatural. Forced. Even uncomfortable. But that's the point. Growth feels uncomfortable because you're breaking old wiring. Days passed. Then weeks. And slowly, his actions began to change. He took small risks. Spoke up more. Delayed distractions. Not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency is where transformation lives. One day, he realized something shocking. The same situations that once triggered fear now felt manageable. The same doubts were quieter. The same habits were weaker. He didn't become a different person overnight. He became a rewired version of himself. And you can do the same. But only if you understand this. Rewiring your mind is not about motivation. It's about repetition. It's about discipline. It's about choosing, again and again, who you want to become. So here's what you can start doing today. First, catch your thoughts. Not all of them. Just the negative patterns that repeat. Second, challenge them. Don't accept everything your mind says as truth. Third, replace them with thoughts that serve you. And finally, act differently, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because action reinforces wiring, not intention. Now listen carefully. This is where most people quit. They expect fast results. They want instant confidence, instant clarity. But real change is slow, silent, invisible. Until one day, it's undeniable. And when that day comes, you won't recognize your old self. You won't think the same, react the same, limit yourself the same. Because you didn't just change your life. You changed the system running it. So if you're still watching this, that means something inside you is ready. Ready to stop repeating the same cycle. Ready to take control. Ready to rewire. But don't just watch. Act. Because information without action changes nothing. If this message hit you, if you saw yourself in this story, then do something right now. Subscribe to the channel. Because this is just the beginning. There's more coming that will help you grow, think differently, and take control of your life. And share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Because you never know. This might be the moment that changes their direction. Your mind is powerful. But only if you train it. So start today. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the old wiring becomes. And the harder it is to break. But the moment you begin, everything starts to shift. This is your turning point. Now the question is, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Because this is the exact moment where most people pause the video, feel inspired, and then go right back to their old habits. Not because they're lazy, but because their mind pulls them back into what feels familiar. Familiar feels safe, even when it's destroying your potential. So let's go deeper. Let me tell you what happened to Arjun next. After weeks of practicing awareness and small changes, something unexpected happened. He failed. Not in a small way. In a way that felt like everything he was trying to build just collapsed. He applied for an opportunity he had been preparing for, and got rejected. Hard. That old voice came back instantly. Louder than ever. See? This is why you shouldn't try. You're not built for this. You were better off staying where you were. And for a moment, he almost believed it again. This is where rewiring is tested. Not when things are easy. But when everything goes wrong. Because your old mind is always waiting for proof that you haven't changed. It looks for failure. It feeds on doubt. It wants to pull you back. And if you're not careful, you'll think you've lost all your progress. But here's the truth. You didn't go backwards. You were challenged. And challenges reveal your new wiring. Arjun did something different this time. Instead of quitting, he paused. Not to escape, but to think. He asked himself, is this failure, or feedback? That one shift changed everything. Because failure ends the story, but feedback continues it. He looked at what went wrong. Not emotionally, but logically. What could he improve? What did he miss? What skills did he need to sharpen? And for the first time, failure didn't break him. It built him. This is the difference between a fixed mind and a rewired mind. A fixed mind says, I failed. I'm not good enough. A rewired mind says, I failed. I'm getting better. Same situation. Different wiring. Different outcome. So if you're going through something right now, if you feel stuck, if things aren't working, don't rush to label it as the end. Because it might be the exact moment your mind is trying to evolve. But evolution requires discomfort. Growth requires resistance. And rewiring requires patience. Let's talk about something most people ignore. Your environment. You can't rewire your mind in the same environment that broke it. Think about that. The people you talk to. The content you consume. The habits you repeat daily. They are constantly shaping your thinking. Arjun realized this too. He noticed that every time he surrounded himself with negativity, his thoughts followed. So he made a decision. A hard one. He started distancing himself from things that were draining him. Less meaningless scrolling. Less comparison. Less noise. And more intention. He replaced random content with learning. Replaced distractions with discipline. Replaced comfort with growth. Not all at once. Step by step. Because drastic changes don't last. But consistent ones do. Now listen carefully. This might be uncomfortable. You don't need more time. You need fewer excuses. Because most people say, I'll start when I'm ready. But readiness is a myth. You become ready by starting. You become confident by acting. You become disciplined by doing what you don't feel like doing. Arjun didn't wait to feel ready anymore. He acted while uncertain. And that's when things truly started changing. He built small habits. Waking up earlier. Focusing for short periods without distractions. Taking action even when it felt uncomfortable. At first, it was hard. Then it became manageable. Then it became normal. And that's how rewiring works. What feels difficult today becomes natural tomorrow. But only if you repeat it. Now let's talk about identity. Because this is the core of everything. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will struggle. But if you start seeing yourself as someone who grows, who learns, who adapts, your actions begin to align with that identity. Arjun stopped saying, I'm trying to improve. And started saying, I am improving. Small shift. Massive impact. Because your brain listens to your words. And adjusts accordingly. So be careful what you tell yourself. Because you're always listening. Now imagine this. A version of you. Who doesn't overthink every decision. Who doesn't hesitate when opportunities show up. Who doesn't doubt their worth. That version already exists. Not somewhere far away. But within you. Buried under old patterns. Old fears. Old beliefs. Rewiring your mind is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing what you are not. Layer by layer. Until the real you shows up. And when that happens, everything changes. The way you speak. The way you act. The way you see challenges. Even the way people respond to you. Because confidence is felt. Energy is noticed. Growth is visible. Arjun became that version. Not perfectly. But powerfully. And the best part? It didn't take years. It took consistent effort. Focused intention. And the decision to not go back. So now let me ask you something. How long are you going to stay in the same cycle? How long are you going to wait for the perfect time? How long are you going to let your old mind control your future? Because if you don't change it, nothing changes. Same thoughts. Same actions. Same results. But the moment you decide, truly decide, everything begins to shift. Not instantly, but inevitably. So here's your challenge. Starting today. Become aware. Interrupt negative patterns. Replace limiting thoughts. Take uncomfortable action. Repeat. Every single day. No excuses. No waiting. Because your future is being built right now. In your thoughts. In your habits. In your decisions. And if you've stayed with me this far, you're not here by accident. Something inside you wants more. More growth. More control. More from life. So don't ignore that. Use it. Starting now. But before you move on, there's something you need to understand that most people completely miss. Rewiring your mind is not just about what you do when you feel strong. It's about what you do when you feel weak. Because there will be days when you don't feel motivated. When your energy is low. When your mind tells you, skip it today. And those are the days that define everything. Arjun discovered this the hard way. There were mornings he woke up tired. Not physically, but mentally. The kind of tired that makes even small tasks feel heavy. And on those days, the old version of him would give in. Scroll endlessly. Avoid responsibility. Promise to start tomorrow. But this time, something was different. He made a rule. A simple one. On my worst days, I will still show up. Even if it's just a little. Not perfect. Not powerful. Just present. So instead of skipping completely, he did 5 minutes. 5 minutes of focus. 5 minutes of effort. 5 minutes of discipline. And something surprising happened. Those 5 minutes often turned into 10. Then 20. Then more. But even when they didn't. Even when it stayed just 5 minutes. He still won. Because he didn't break the pattern. And that's the secret most people overlook. Success is not built on your best days. It's built on your worst days. When you choose not to quit. When you choose to continue. Even at your lowest. That's when your mind truly rewires. Because you're teaching it something new. You're teaching it that you don't stop. You adapt. You adjust. But you don't quit. Now let's go deeper into something powerful. Your emotions. Most people are controlled by how they feel. If they feel good, they act. If they feel bad, they stop. But if you live like that, you'll always be inconsistent. Because emotions are unstable. They change constantly. Arjun realized this when he noticed something strange. On some days, he felt confident for no reason. On other days, he felt doubtful without any real cause. Nothing outside had changed. Only his internal state. That's when he understood. Feelings are not commands. They are signals. You don't have to obey them. You can acknowledge them. And still act anyway. That's power. That's control. That's rewiring. So instead of waiting to feel ready, he started acting regardless of how he felt. Tired? Act. Doubtful? Act. Uncertain? Act. Not recklessly, but intentionally. Because action changes emotion, not the other way around. And the more he practiced this, the less control his emotions had over him. Now let's talk about focus. Because in today's world, your attention is constantly under attack. Notifications, social media, endless content, all designed to keep you distracted. And a distracted mind cannot be rewired. It stays scattered, weak, reactive. Arjun used to struggle with this too. He couldn't focus for long. His mind would jump from one thing to another. Always busy, but rarely productive. So he made another change. He started training his focus. Like a muscle. At first, he set a timer. 10 minutes. No distractions. No phone. No switching tasks. Just one thing. Fully present. It was harder than he expected. His mind resisted. Tried to escape. But he stayed. Day by day. He increased the time. 10 minutes became 20. Then 30. Then more. And slowly, his ability to concentrate improved. His work became deeper. Faster. Better. Because where your focus goes, your growth follows. If your focus is weak, your results will be weak. But if your focus is strong, you become unstoppable. Now here's something even more important. Your self-image. This is the invisible force behind everything you do. If deep down, you see yourself as average, you will live an average life. If you see yourself as incapable, you will avoid challenges. But if you begin to see yourself as someone disciplined, focused, capable, you start behaving differently. Even before results show up. Arjun started visualizing this. Not in a fantasy way, but in a grounded, realistic way. He imagined himself handling pressure calmly, speaking with confidence, taking action without hesitation. And over time, his brain started accepting it. Not as imagination, but as possibility. Then as reality. Because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's repeatedly imagined with emotion. So use that. Don't let your imagination work against you. Make it work for you. Now let's pause for a moment. Think about your own life. Where are you holding yourself back? What thoughts keep repeating in your head? What patterns are you stuck in? Because awareness is where change begins. You can't fix what you refuse to see. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's your power. Now here's the part most people don't like hearing. Rewiring your mind requires responsibility. Full responsibility. No blaming your past. No blaming others. No blaming circumstances. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take control. And control is what you've been missing. Arjun stopped blaming everything outside. And started focusing on what he could change. His thoughts. His actions. His habits. And that shift changed everything. Not instantly, but permanently. Because when you own your life, you stop waiting for things to improve. You start improving things. And that's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who grow. Now imagine this again. A few months from now, you wake up with clarity. Your mind is calm, focused, strong. You don't overthink every move. You don't hesitate as much. You don't fall into the same distractions. Not because life got easier, but because you got better. That future is not far away. It's being built right now. In the small decisions you make daily. So don't underestimate them. They matter more than you think. And if you've made it this far, you're already doing something most people won't. You're staying. You're listening. You're learning. Now it's time to act. Right now. Because if you're waiting for a perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. There is no perfect time to change your life. There is only a decision. And that decision is uncomfortable. It disrupts your routine. It challenges your identity. It forces you to step into the unknown. And your mind will resist it. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it wants you to stay safe. Your brain is designed for survival, not success. It prefers what's familiar over what's possible, even if that familiarity is holding you back. Arjun understood this when he noticed something strange. Every time he was about to take a big step forward, his mind created excuses. I'll do it later. I need more preparation. What if this doesn't work? It sounded logical, reasonable, even smart. But deep down, it was fear in disguise. And once he saw that, he couldn't unsee it. So instead of listening to every excuse, he created a rule. If it moves me forward, I do it immediately. No overthinking. No delay. Just action. At first, it felt reckless. But over time, it became powerful. Because hesitation started disappearing. And momentum took its place. Now listen carefully. Momentum is everything. Once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep moving. But if you stop, it becomes harder to restart. That's why small actions matter. They build momentum. And momentum builds confidence. Not the other way around. Most people wait to feel confident before they act. But confidence comes from action. Repeated action. Uncomfortable action. Arjun didn't suddenly feel confident. He became confident. By proving to himself, again and again, that he could act despite fear. And that's the difference. Confidence is not a feeling. It's evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you won't quit. Evidence that you can handle challenges. So if you want confidence, stop waiting for it. Start building it. Now let's talk about something deeper. Your internal dialogue. The conversations you have with yourself every day. Because whether you realize it or not, you are constantly talking to yourself. And those words shape your reality. If your internal voice is negative, critical, doubtful, it will drain your energy, kill your motivation, limit your potential. But if you shift that voice, everything changes. Arjun started paying attention to how he spoke to himself. And he noticed something shocking. He was harder on himself than anyone else. He would never speak to a friend the way he spoke to himself. And that realization hit him hard. So he made a change. Not fake positivity. Not lies. But constructive honesty. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," he said, "I'm improving at this." Instead of, "I always fail," he said, "I'm learning from this." Small changes. But powerful. Because words shape belief. And belief shapes behavior. Now here's something even more important. Your tolerance for discomfort. This is where most people break. Because growth lives outside your comfort zone. But your mind constantly pulls you back inside it. Why? Because comfort feels good. But comfort also keeps you stuck. Arjun started doing something intentional. Every day. He chose discomfort. Not extreme. Not overwhelming. Just enough to stretch himself. Cold showers. Difficult conversations. Focused work without distractions. Things he used to avoid. At first, it was uncomfortable. Then it became manageable. Then it became normal. And once it became normal, his comfort zone expanded. And that's how you grow. You don't eliminate discomfort. You get used to it. Now think about this. What are you avoiding right now? What are you delaying? What are you scared to face? Because that thing, that exact thing, is probably what will move your life forward. But only if you confront it. Now let's go back to Arjun one more time. Months had passed. And his life started looking different. Not perfect. But improved. He was more focused. More disciplined. More in control. Opportunities started showing up. Not because luck changed. But because he changed. He started noticing things he used to ignore. Taking actions he used to avoid. And slowly, results followed. But here's the most important part. He no longer depended on results to feel good. Because his identity had shifted. He was no longer someone trying to succeed. He was someone who was growing. And growth became his focus. Not validation. Not approval. Just progress. And that's freedom. Because when you stop chasing approval, you start building yourself. Now let me bring this back to you. Because this is not just Arjun's story. This is yours. You might not see it yet. But the same patterns exist. The same fears. The same doubts. The same potential. And just like him, you have a choice. Stay the same. Or rewire. Stay comfortable. Or grow. Stay stuck. Or move forward. No one can make that decision for you. And no one is coming to save you. This is your responsibility. Your mind. Your life. Your future. But here's the good news. You don't have to figure everything out at once. You just have to start. One thought. One action. One step. That's it. And if you keep going. If you stay consistent. If you refuse to go back. You will change. Not maybe. Not possibly. Inevitably. So don't underestimate the power of what you're doing right now. Watching this. Thinking about change. Feeling that push inside. That's the beginning. Now turn it into action. The answer starts with what you do next. Not what you think. Not what you plan. But what you actually do. Because thinking about change is not the same as changing. Planning your future is not the same as building it. And understanding all of this means nothing if you don't apply it. Arjun realized this at a deeper level when he noticed something subtle. He was consuming a lot of content. Watching videos. Reading ideas. Learning constantly. But there were moments when he wasn't applying enough. And that's a trap. A dangerous one. Because it feels like progress. But it's not. It's comfortable growth. Passive improvement. And passive improvement doesn't rewire your mind. Only action does. So he made another shift. For everything he learned, he applied something immediately. No delay. No overthinking. Even if it was small. Even if it felt insignificant. Because action compounds. And small actions, repeated daily, create massive change over time. Now let's talk about something deeper. Your past. Because whether you admit it or not, your past is influencing your present. Past failures. Past mistakes. Past experiences. They shape how you think today. They shape what you believe is possible. Arjun had his own past too. Moments where he failed. Times where he embarrassed himself. Situations where things didn't go his way. And without realizing it, he carried those moments into his present. They became silent limits. Invisible barriers. Every time he tried something new, those memories whispered, "Remember what happened last time?" And that hesitation held him back. Until he understood something powerful. Your past is a reference. Not a rule. Just because something didn't work before, doesn't mean it won't work now. You're not the same person. You've learned. You've grown. You've changed. So why let an old version of you control your current decisions? Arjun stopped doing that. He stopped identifying with his past failures. And started using them as lessons. Instead of saying, "I failed before," he said, "I learned before." That shift freed him. Because he no longer felt trapped by what happened. He felt empowered by what he gained. And you can do the same. But only if you stop reliving your past. And start using it. Now let's go even deeper. Fear. This is the biggest barrier for most people. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of the unknown. And here's the truth. Fear never fully disappears. Even Arjun still felt it. Even people you admire feel it. The difference is not the absence of fear. It's the response to it. Most people see fear. And stop. But those who grow see fear. And move forward anyway. Because fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. A signal that you're stepping into something new. Something important. Something that matters. So instead of avoiding fear, lean into it. Not blindly, but courageously. Because on the other side of fear is growth. Is confidence. Is expansion. Arjun started doing this intentionally. Whenever he felt fear, he asked himself, "Is this dangerous, or just uncomfortable?" And most of the time, it was just uncomfortable. So he moved forward. And every time he did, fear lost a little more power. Until it became manageable. Until it became normal. Until it became something he could walk through. Instead of something that stopped him. Now think about your own fears. What are they? Speaking up. Starting something new. Taking a risk. Being judged. Now ask yourself honestly. Is it truly dangerous? Or just uncomfortable? Because your answer will tell you exactly what you need to do. Now let's talk about discipline. Because motivation will not carry you far. It comes and goes. It fades. It disappears when you need it most. But discipline stays. Discipline is doing what needs to be done. Even when you don't feel like doing it. Arjun built discipline slowly. Not through extreme routines. But through consistency. Doing small things daily. Even when he didn't feel like it. Especially when he didn't feel like it. Because that's when it matters most. And over time, discipline became part of who he was. Not something he forced. But something he lived. And that's the goal. Not to rely on bursts of motivation. But to build a system of discipline. Because systems create results. Not emotions. Now here's something most people ignore. Rest. Yes, rest. Because rewiring your mind doesn't mean pushing yourself endlessly. It means balancing effort with recovery. Arjun learned this after burning out once. He pushed too hard. Ignored rest. And eventually, his performance dropped. His focus weakened. His energy disappeared. That's when he realized. Rest is not weakness. It's strategy. So he started respecting it. Sleeping properly. Taking breaks. Resetting his mind. And when he came back, he was stronger. Sharper. More effective. Because a tired mind cannot grow. So don't confuse discipline with exhaustion. You need both effort and recovery. Now let's bring everything together. Rewiring your mind is not one big action. It's a collection of small, consistent choices. Awareness. Action. Discipline. Focus. Facing fear. Changing your self-talk. Improving your environment. Learning from your past. And repeating this process. Every single day. That's how transformation happens. Not in one moment. But in many moments. Stacked together. Over time. And one day. You'll look back. And realize something incredible. You're not the same person anymore. The things that used to control you no longer do. The thoughts that used to limit you no longer exist in the same way. The habits that used to hold you back are gone. Replaced. Upgraded. That's rewiring. That's growth. That's power. So don't stop here. Don't just watch this and move on. Use it. Apply it. Live it. And if you've come this far, you already know this is different. This is not just another video. This is a turning point. So make it count. Subscribe to the channel if you're serious about changing your mindset. Because this is where you keep growing. And share this video with someone who needs it. Because the right message, at the right time, can change someone's entire path. Including yours. Now go. Take action. Even if it's small. Even if it's uncomfortable. Just start. Because the life you want is waiting on the other side of that decision. And it begins right now.